NDP leader David Eby has a message to the 1% of homeowners who leave their homes empty.
Rent out your vacant home, don't pay the tax.
He's talking about the provincial speculation and vacancy tax, which applies to a home's assessed value. Eby says if re-elected, an NDP government would raise the tax to 1% for Canadians and 3% for non-Canadians. He says 99% of British Columbians are exempt.
We're taking the side of the average British Columbian who works hard, plays by the rules, deserves a decent home, deserves a reasonable income.
Eby accuses BC Conservative leader John Rustad of wanting to scrap the tax, claiming he sides with billionaires and speculators.
Now, if you are a billionaire like Chip Wilson, I understand I may not be your guy. Fair enough. John Rustad, I guess, is your guy.
Eby is referring to a sign erected in front of the multi-million-dollar waterfront Vancouver home of Lululemon founder Chip Wilson. The sign calls the NDP a communist party. Rustad hasn't seen the sign, but says,
I don't disagree with him when he calls David Eby a communist.
However, Rustad was vague on whether he would scrap the speculation and vacancy tax.
Certainly something we need to look at, but we have not made a commitment one way or the other to that at this stage.
An economist with the BC Real Estate Association is skeptical of the tax's ability to address housing affordability.
Yeah, it applies to a very, very small share of the housing stock or of households. So it's odd to expect that it would have a large impact. And what we've seen since the speculation of vacancy tax is implemented is that it hasn't really had any significant impact in a positive way on affordability.
But it has had an impact on government coffers. The government says the tax has brought in $390 million since it was introduced in 2018. And David Eby claims it has put 20,000 homes onto the market in Metro Vancouver. However, John Rustad argues Eby's housing policies have been a failure, pointing to a 30% drop in housing starts last year. Katie DeRosa, CBC News, Victoria.